Hi, and welcome to What Do You Think? I am Sheryl Atkins, your host, a parent, and educational attorney. Next to me is my husband of 25 years, William Atkins.
Hi, I'm William. I'm a lifelong educator and your content administrator.
Bill, what video do you have for us today?
This is Dr. Neal Barnard, who will discuss food and how it impacts the brain.
All right, so let's see what Dr. Barnard has to say.
Thank you for joining me. On February 8th, 2012, my father passed away. And the truth is, that was the day his heart stopped beating. For all intents and purposes, my father had died years earlier. It started with memory lapses, and as time went on, his memory failed more and more, and it got to the point where he didn't know his own kids who came in to see him. And his personality changed, and his ability to take care of himself was completely gone. And if you could make a list of all the things that could ever happen to you, the very last thing on your list, the very bottom of the list, the thing you want the least is Alzheimer's disease. Because when you lose your memory, you lose everything. You lose everyone who ever mattered to you. And if you could look into the brain of a person who's got this disease, what you see is between the brain cells are these unusual looking structures. Beta amyloid protein comes out of the cells and it accumulates in these little sort of meatball-like structures that are in front of you on a microscopic slide. And they shouldn't be there, and they're a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. And this disease affects about half of Americans by their mid-80s. And you could say to your doctor, okay, I don't want that. What can I do to stop that? And your doctor will say, well, it's old age and it's genetics. There's a gene, it's called the ApoE4 allele. And if you've got this gene from one parent, your risk is tripled. If you got it from both parents, your risk is 10 to 15 times higher than it was before. What's the answer? Get new parents? No, I don't think so. That's not it. So I'm sorry, it's old age, it's genes, period, that's it. There's not a darn thing you can do, just wait for it to happen. Or maybe not. In Chicago, researchers started something called the Chicago Health and Aging Project. And what they did was they looked at what people in Chicago were eating. They did very careful dietary records in hundreds and hundreds of people. And then they started to see who, as the years go by, stayed mentally clear and who developed dementia. And the first thing they keyed in on was something that I knew about as a kid growing up in Fargo, North Dakota. My mom had 5 kids. We would run down to the kitchen to the smell of bacon. And my mom would take a fork and she'd stick it into the frying pan and pull the hot bacon strips out and put them on a paper towel to cool down. And when all the bacon was out of the pan, she would carefully lift up that hot pan and pour the grease into a jar to save it. That's good bacon grease. You don't want to lose that. And my mother would take that jar and she would put it not in the refrigerator, but she put it on the shelf. Because my mother knew that as bacon grease cools down, what happens to it? It solidifies. And that's the fact that it's solid at room temperature is a sign that bacon grease is loaded with saturated fat, bad fat. We've known for a long time that that raises cholesterol, and there's a lot of it in bacon grease. And by the way, the next day she would spoon it back into the frying pan and fry eggs in it. It's amazing any of her children live to adulthood, but that's the way we live. Now, the number one source of saturated fat is actually not bacon, it's dairy products, cheese and milk and so forth, and meat is number 2. And in Chicago, some people ate relatively little saturated fat, around 13 grams a day, and others ate about twice that much. And the researchers just looked at who developed Alzheimer's disease. And can I show you the figures? Here's the low group, and there's the high group. In other words, if you were avoiding the bad fat, your risk was pretty low. But if you were tucking into the cheese and the bacon strips, your risk was 2, 3, or more fold higher. And then they looked not just at saturated fat, they looked at the fat that's in donuts and pastries. You know what that is, that's trans fats, you'll see it on the labels. And they found the very same pattern there too. So the people who tended to avoid the saturated fat and the trans fats We want to avoid them for cholesterol and heart disease reasons, but they also seem to affect the brain. Then researchers in Finland said, wait a minute, let's go further. There is a condition we call mild cognitive impairment. You're still yourself, you're managing your checkbook, you're driving, your friends know it's you, but you're having mental lapses, especially for names and for words. And they brought in over 1,000 adults, they were 50 years old, and they looked at their diets. And then as time went on, they looked to see who developed mild cognitive impairment. Now, some of these people ate relatively little fat, some people ate a fair amount, and then they looked at whose memory started to fail. And they found exactly the same pattern. In other words, it's not just will I get Alzheimer's disease, but will I just have old age memory problems? Well, what about that gene? That ApoE epsilon 4 allele, the one that condemns you to Alzheimer's disease. Well, they then redid the study, and they focused only on those people. And some of these people ate relatively little fat, some people ate more, and exactly the same. In other words, if you are avoiding the bad fats, even if you have the gene, your risk of developing memory problems was cut by 80%. And this is my most important point. Genes are not destiny. Now let's take another look in those plaques. We know there's beta amyloid protein, but there's also iron and copper. Metals in my brain, that's right. There are metals in foods, and they get into the brain. Now think about this. I have a cast iron pan, and we had a backyard barbecue, and a week later I remember, I left my fry pan on the picnic table, and it rained last week. What happened to my pan? It rusted, and that rust is oxidation. Or you take a shiny new penny, and does it stay shiny forever? No, it oxidizes too. Well, iron and copper oxidize in your body. And as they do that, they cause the production of what are called free radicals. You've heard of free radicals. The free radicals are molecules that are swimming around in your bloodstream, and they get into the brain, and they act like sparks that singe through the connections between one cell and the next. So how is this happening? Where am I getting all this iron? Where am I getting all this copper? How can that be? Well, how many people have a cast iron pan? Let me see hands. Now, if that's your once-a-month pan, I'm going to say, who cares? But if it's every single day, you're getting the iron into your food, and it's more iron than your body needs.
So, Sheryl, of course, this speaks to my soul because, you know that every morning I get up a little early, and I'm not using a cast iron pan. I'm using that big, long electric grill, and I make bacon, eggs, pancakes for my kids. I take some pride in it. I've been doing it since they've been born, really. And, I love bacon, I love eggs, I love cheese. And, of course, this video speaks to my soul because, wow, I really need to rethink some things. And the girls, they prefer that I don't make them breakfast. They'd rather have a protein bar. They want a light breakfast.
Yeah.
They want grapes.
Fruit, some kind of fruit.
They want the granola bars. Mm-hmm. They want those things.
And water. They like their water too.
They love their water, but my point is that they're right and Dad is wrong. Clearly, and the thing about it is, when you make your kids breakfast in the morning, you make them their lunch or whatever, you're showing them that, to me, I'm showing them that I love them. I'm showing them that I care for you enough to get out of bed early and make you your breakfast. Mm-hmm. But, being reflective, I have to think, well, okay, I'm not going to stop making breakfast, but what can I do to replace the bacon? Maybe use turkey sausage or turkey bacon as opposed to using, the regular bacon. But, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that when we grew up was a different time, and they nutritionists and doctors encourage the dairy. Right? You have your dairy, and you're gonna have your your protein in the mornings, for your breakfast. So you're just doing things that you learned over the years and how you grew up. It's just that science has changed.
Well, science hasn't changed, but the truth has exposed some of the things we did. The science is the same with science. They're just better at doing the research. But I think you're right.
Well, their recommendations have changed.
The recommendations changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But it really makes you think like, wow, we need to do a little better in this regard. So,
well, like you, I would just say that, I enjoy the bacon that you give to me in the morning.
I'm gonna stop it. I'm ready to cut out.
We're gonna have to cut it out.
Well, listen, I just bought groceries, so I'm not throwing the food away.
That's a shock to the body, but we have to do that. Yeah,
we're gonna replace the bacon with turkey bacon, or just have the protein bars, or I need something that's gonna fill me. It's gotta hold me. So maybe be thinking about that. But we're not alone.
Yeah.
We're not using the bacon grease. We're not doing that. We're not that bad.
Yeah.
But we love to have our breakfast in the morning. We're gonna start doing better.
Yes. And
reduce some of that cheese intake as well. So anyway, we did create a PowerPoint presentation. If you don't mind reading off the 7 ways that nutrition supports the achievement, I would be highly appreciative. So let's go to the first slide. Number 1.
Provide your child with a good high-carb diet that includes potatoes, yams, and carrots to support their brain health.
Number 2.
Parents should minimize high-sugar diets, which reduces brain performance.
Now, we have been doing that. And my big thing is, and I keep saying this to my kids and to you, don't bring your food in the house. We need to reduce the junk food in the house. If the junk food is not in the house, then we can't eat it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when it's in the house.
It's hard when it's in the house, especially after 8 o'clock, right?
Any time of the day.
Not for me. I'm generally bad at night.
Okay.
Number 3.
Parents should feed their children plenty of fruits and vegetables daily to support brain performance.
We do a good job on that. There's plenty of fruit in this house. That's good. That's a good thing we do. Number 4.
Parents should replace red meats with fish when possible.
Number 5.
Parents should ensure that their children drink plenty of water daily. Now, that's one of the things we all do.
Yeah, the girls are great. They all have their colored metal water bottles, you included. I bought you one. At first, you're like, Bill, I want the plastic bottles, but I gave you the thing, and it keeps the water cold all day long.
Keeps you cold, and you have it everywhere you go.
And those kids carry that water bottle up and down the steps. They carry it from the bedrooms to the dinner table. And so the girls are great. My son, he's more like me. Like, we want to have the refrigerator, but the girls do a great job with that water intake. So we're not doing anything bad. We're doing some things right. Number 6.
Parents should consider providing their child with supplements rich in B12, vitamin D, and omega-3.
And number 7.
Replace frying with baking to reduce saturated fats.
Okay. So I guess we're just talking about our own family because we want to let folks know, we need to rethink
things
some
we
things.
have to work on as well.
We're not perfect. Yeah. We have some suggestions, recommendations, but we're going to try to do better, right? Here's a book we wrote last year. We published 7 books. This one is called Raising Greatness. It's for high school parents. And Sheryl, if you don't mind, could you discuss our website?
Sure. You can access our website at raisinggreatnessbooks.org. There, as Bill said, you can access our books that we've written. You can also connect with us on social media, and you can see other videos that we've also posted to this site. So, until next time, raise greatness.
And thank you.
Thank you.